There we are. Okay, so that looks like everything is on. Yeah. All right. Cool. Howdy, folks. My name's Dave. Welcome to another Woodturning Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. It is actually last night I did my first. Um, I don't know what would you call a portable remote stream. I'm normally streaming in the shop, and I actually have a little portable setup here that worked really well last night. So I'm using it again tonight because it's actually colder this evening than it was last night. And I didn't go out to the shop last night because it was cold. So I did actually go out to the shop a little bit today for like 10 minutes because I needed, I wanted to turn the lid, the inside of the lid for this salt box. But we're not working on that yet. I have. Oh, that's not it. Let's try that one. There we go. I've got this camera ready to go. Hopefully, this. Whoops. I think I just lost my. There it is. I lost my earphone because I can't. I have speech chat working, which is nice, but I have to wear a headset or a headphone or something. And I don't want to use Bluetooth. I know the speakers already have a little magnet in them, and there's a little magnetic induction going on and all that kind of stuff. But the strength of that, not that we really even understand magnetism, but the strength of that is going to be much less than the radio waves of the Bluetooth that are going to be penetrating my skull, and so I try to avoid that as much as possible. When I talk on my phone, I try to use the speaker everywhere I can, so I don't have to hold the phone up next to my head, because I think that's crazy. The amount of radiation that comes off the phones. 1 second, I need to bring, there, hold on 1 second. I am going to walk away. I know you guys can hear me, but I don't have the earphone in at the moment, so I can't hear anybody that might be throwing something in chat there. But I need to get a little trash receptacle, something to use as a trash receptacle. Okay, so this evening I'm working again inside. Right now, I think what do they say? What it feels like is like 4 degrees, and I'm like, that's right on the border of where my heater can't do anything. So I think I'll just work inside again. So I've got this veneer plywood that I had set up last night, steamed and then glued together. So we're going to release this and see what that looks like, and start working on the handle and seeing how far we get with the projects this evening. I won't be turning, but only because it's so doggone cold. Okay. Get rid of that guy. So in theory, so I like using saran wrap to wrap stuff. It'll release. The glue is actually, well, no, that's dry. So the glue's cured. I can steam this again. These layers, oh nice, these layers did not get stuck together, at least I hope. But in any case, okay, that one's free, that one's free. That one might be stuck. So maybe steaming the end of this. Yep, there's some glue there. I don't want to rip the veneer. I want to be able to use as much of this as possible. Let's see that. It is also not free. I don't know how I got glue down in there. Yeah, okay, that one's free. So I got glue on 3 of them somehow. I don't want to force it, but if it's just a tiny bit, yeah. So what I will do is I'll steam bend this again, and then I'll bend that straight. I want to be able to put that into a parallel clamp so that I can keep it straight. I will wind, actually, I don't know, maybe yeah, because eventually, I think, it depends, I may wind up bending this bit here the other direction to go, if I do take that idea and wrap the whole bottom with it. I may want to go the other direction. So these are free as far as, ooh, all the way up there. Yes, that worked. It worked. Okay, so I can take this tape off now. In theory. There we go. So yeah, we had more snow, although got more in my part of town than other parts of town. My part, where the duplex is that I rent, that part of town. Doesn't belong to me. Yes, got it out clean. Nice. Okay, so that's a really, really good start, although it is kind of crinkled just a little bit right there, but maybe I can, well, I might not be able to figure anything out of that, and I'll just have to be sanded down, and that's just the way it goes. Okay, next step for this guy, I think I should start boiling some water so I can steam that guy, and I think I need to wander outside really fast and grab the parallel clamp so I have that ready. So I will be right back. Okay, let's see, let's use, oh yeah, that pan. Maybe I should use that water. Yeah. This guy can go into the oven. It'd be nice, actually, if I could. I think you can probably still hear me just fine. It'd be nice if I could move that camera over here to see the. Oh, but if I heat this up enough, I can do this right at the table. Where's my? There we go. So thank you, Turning Club. I've got a little piece of shelf liner here, so this will keep things from scooting, and then I'll have a pot holder right there. And let me go grab that parallel clamp. Probably might want to put at least some Crocs on because it's flipping cold out there. Not gonna wear a jacket though because it just takes too much time. It's got to go around the corner and grab this thing. Okay. And actually, I should prepare this as well. Let's see. That's the right correct butter. All right, shift some things around here. Easy, easy, easy. All right. So I'm going to prep these by wrapping them with saran wrap. because I'm going to be using them to clamp down this wet wood, and I don't want this clamp to get all wet. So hopefully this will work. Don't need a ton. Because that is only going to be, yeah, that's about right. Uh-oh, I folded it over. Saran wrap is such a pain to work with sometimes. Cling wrap, whatever. This is not saran wrap. Stretch type. This is called stretch type. Cling wrap. Come on now. There we go. Wait. Oops. Here you. So since these veneers are not glued together, they should steam really fast. And I'll be able to bend it out and then straighten them out and clamp it down. I'm gonna have to trim the ends, but that's okay. They were split anyway. Oh, that's destroyed. That's all right. I can get down to this level, and maybe I can do some repair there. But that was the clamp. All right. So I'll just wait for the water to boil, and what do we got here? You know what? I should actually. It says I'm online. Oh, okay. All right. And it also says I have a viewer. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. All right. So gotta wait for the water to boil. I don't need this guy at the moment, so I can move you down there. Done with. Oh well, yeah. No, I'm done with. Where's the other one? There it is. Done with the ring clamps, I do believe. So let me put this away. Jig. There we go. Okay, so while we're waiting for the water to boil, there is a couple things I can do. Bring this guy up. Come here. Now I've got this hinge that I need to attach here, and these brass nails. And at the moment, I think that this one or possibly both are a little bit long, but I also I made a starter hole here, but I want to grab my micro drills, little twist drills. And shameless plug for Cindy Drozda. I'm just reusing this box, but she makes a magnetic little LED light that sticks anywhere pretty much on your lathe. It's a nice little light to have. I have one somewhere. I used to use it a lot. I use other things now, but it's a nice little LED light that is magnetized or has a magnet on. You can put it like anywhere on your lathe. All right, so I need to find the correct or something very close to the diameter of these brass nails. Too small. And I have a variety of tryst drill bits, some as fine as a hair. So far I haven't used those ones yet. Although I have uses I could use them for. I mean, say for instance, you smack your finger and your nail starts swelling. I could use it to, relieve that pressure. But it's really, really fine. And it's just one that I have in this set of drill bits that I collected over the years. You never know, man. Maybe someday I might need that really, really tiny drill bit, so I just don't get rid of it. Just got to be really careful when I'm taking these things out because some of them are really, really small. Really small. Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what? I should turn this other light on. There we go. So, well, that one might be fairly close. I want it a little undersized. It doesn't have to be. Okay, that might be a secondary. Let's go with that one. Ooh, and they are magnetic now. I think that might be pushing it too. That's closer. So that's a better pick. That's a tiny bit undersized, it appears. That's not bad. So I'm not sure these all three might even be just the same size. I do have multiples of drill bits. There's no way other than getting a drill bit or a caliper or a drill bit gauge to know what those are. I imagine they're probably a 32nd of an inch, maybe. Maybe 3/64, somewhere in there. So I'm going to go with this guy first. Whoopsie daisy. Line it up there, Holmes. Home skillet. Home slice. Home plate. Used to have a guy I worked with, pretty nice guy. But when we greet each other, sometimes we'd always have to come up with some way to use the word Holmes in the greeting. So we came up with some pretty creative, like home on the range, homelier than me. Anyway. Oh dear. Oh, well, that's the wrong set. Okay, so let me think here. I think my hemostats might be a better choice for this particular task. Oh, no. Open. Oh, dang, they're just a tad bit. There we go. So I want to see about fitting that in there. I want it to be a tight fit, but I don't want to have to drive it too far. Okay, that's not bad. Oh yeah, that's not bad. I don't have to drive it too far. Okay, that one, I need to take that hole down a little bit more. You guys can't see that probably, but ooh, how about that? So that little bit right there, that's my depth. So I have just enough. I don't have, I wasn't looking for a super thin lid or whatever. It just has to sit on top. It's going to be hinged, so it's not going to be a tight friction fit lid. The whole idea is one hand operation, should I desire it. Okay, how deep is this one? Well, go a little deeper. I have more or less about a quarter of an inch to play with. I don't want to come through the inside, so I'm going to have to trim these. I really do like having tweezers like this. I do need to trim these nails. I need to trim my nails, girl. A little bit. Alright, let's see. This one's a little shorter, so let me see if this one will be alright as it is. It will be for that hole. How about this hole? Because if I only need to trim one of these, that clearly would be a better choice. I'll use that one for the back. So let's gauge this again. So I could take, okay, about that much. Too much. So I kind of cut it at an angle, or rather, I cut it at an angle, so that when I kind of drive it in, it'll drive into the wood a little bit. I'm not going to glue those in. It's just to hold the hinge in place here so that it doesn't slide in and out. The rest of this stuff being glued down is what's going to hold everything else into place, and those pins won't be able to go anywhere. So that's the idea. So I'm actually at the point where I can do this part. Let me check on the water. I'll be right back. Uh-oh, let's not lose those too. Add a little bit of water, and I think it's quite. So another couple of minutes and we can do that bending. Alright, so I'm done with the drills. I don't need the tweezers for these guys. I still have the proprioception that I can pick up pins and needles. It's the little hair guys that I want to grab with the tweezers, just so I know that I actually have it, because sometimes feeling those tiny things, actually I don't know. I don't, because I do have some calluses, so it's getting those little small tiny things. All right, where's my, there we go. Some glue. But yeah, I can set this hinge tonight. Well, now that's interesting. Gather that up. Got some tiny pieces of brass. Actually, this is half of the lower half of a brass nail, and this is what I was originally going to use, because I just needed to have a post in there inside the hinge to hold it in place, and everything else is going to sit down and press all that down. But because I've clad this in wood, this part I at least wanted to have a head of a nail on it, so it's riveted more or less into place, because I'm gluing to brass. Now I roughed up the brass so the glue had something to hold on to, but the glue's going to let go of the metal because it's wood glue. It's going to let go of the metal long before it's going to let go of the wood. So if there's any kind of flexing, I want to have this pin in place in there, so that it will help retain this piece of wood. That's my theory anyway. There's another little guy. You over there. Are you brass? You are not. Okay, I think I will use a little bit of mass here. Bit of glue. Did I rough that up? I did not. What did I do with it? There it is. Reach way over. There we go. So I recycle my old toothbrushes. I swap them out every couple of months anyway. And I clean them up, and then I use them for projects and cleaning and whatever else. This one I just replaced. It's only had it for 2 weeks, but some of the bristles are coming out already, and so I don't guess that they were packed in there very well. And it's an odd feeling having those bristles float around in your mouth while you're trying to brush your teeth. Sounds like I'm done with this toothbrush. Okay, so that's roughed up now. I'll just put just a wee bit of glue. I know what else I forgot, and they should be right behind me. Yes. Boop. There we go. Glue spreaders. You know what? I think a little more. I think just a little more. Even if it gets up into here, that's where the cabochon's going anyway. Okay, paper towel. Yes, please. Something to set my glue spreader on. Oh dear. Oh, there it is. Come here, you. Alright, so let's set you aside for a second. I think it'll be easier to locate the back pinhole. And then once I got that, in theory anyway, let me poke that through. If I can get it in there. Come on now. Dale. Hey. How you doing, Mav? Alright, let's poke it through with this. Why is that not? Is that hole closed up? That would be interesting. It's not closed up. Oy. This is why I'm using the tweezers and the pliers and the things like that to hold on to these tiny little pieces. Okay, there. I think that is going in. Yes, there we go. Okay. And the front nail, pin, whatever. The shadows. That's a smaller dude. That would be much more helpful than the long thermostat or hemostat. It's thermostat. There we go. And there we go. Oh, nope, did it? Or did it? It did. Good. Okay, so now I just need to drive these in a bit, and what I've decided, just because I have this handy, I use this crappy old mallet on this file. I just need to set them a little bit. And then I can grab my nail set. Ah, of course. Be right back. Wait, I might have one. Oh, please tell me I have one right here. That would be cool. I should have a nail set in here. I have a travel bag that I put my turning tools in when I'm doing demos and stuff. And I really should have a nail set in here. And it appears that I do not. So into the garage I go, the frigid garage. Yikes and away. And the water is ready too. Did not find my nearest nail set, but I do have this guy. That should be good enough. And that's my hinge. Okay, groovy. Alright, so that's set. Now I can set these things. And let me check on the water again. Definitely think I'll put this part away for a second because the water is ready. So let's move this aside. This guy. Oh, that's right, there's a magnet on that. Should be plenty hot enough since this is a bunch of veneer. And I'm going to grab my Mondo kitchen gloves, which don't give me a whole lot of feeling. It's already bending just beautifully. Let's see if I can get it to, yeah, there we go. Can I get it down in there like that? Nope, I'm gonna have to go that way. Alright, bendy, bendy. Bendy, bendy. Let's see if I can just get that little bit down in there. Get it to move. There we go. Alright. Okay, so we'll clamp this dude up. Oh, I gotta move this really fast. All right. Steam burns are the worst, man. There we go. So I'm not gluing these together yet. Because I want to explore the possibility of the handle will be basically in this area where you can see the ring now, and then I want to be able, at least I had an idea of being able to bend this all the way around up underneath and incorporate the whole thing into this bowl instead of just chamfering a little bit here or putting a rabbit there. I actually do it all the way around, and then that will be glued together and in a arc, so it will hold this. You know, you'll be able to sit on the counter like that, but this will also hold this when your fingers in there, hold the whole thing. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it. Okay. Oops, nope, wrong way. I do like these parallel clamps. They are nice. They are not parallel. That looks a lot closer. I'm just sighting down that crack, and that looks a lot closer to parallel. So they should all be equally squished. So now I just set that aside and let that dry. And later on I will wind up, rebending it to fit around the bowl of the salt box. Okay, so now I can move this guy and this guy. I'll keep that one close by. Oh, you know what? I'll just say that. So the water that I used to bend that is filled with tannins now. I was going to empty it out in the sink. I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I got to bend again, I might as well hold on to that. Oh, that's what I was going to reach for when I was back there. A little bit of water. Hellman's water, apparently. Okay, back to this guy. I may have to do that one more time. Let's do that though, right over the leg of the sawhorse here. Where'd you go? Oh, yeah. Behind me, that's where you went. how things jump around on the table. There we go. Good thing they're brass. They will deform a little bit easier than steel. Okay. So now, all right, before I do that bit, we need to make sure that I have the grain going the direction I want it to go. Now, I was looking at this. Let's bring this back into the center of the frame. So let's see if I bring this up closer so you can see the grain pattern and that it's dark and light. And a little bit more difficult to tell, not too much, but we have the grain pattern. Let's turn that around. So the grain pattern is also going this way and dark to light. So I'm going to set it in that way. And the grain pattern is not going to line up like absolutely perfectly. Well, I might, I don't know, but not always. But I always try to get really, really close. I'm like matching two different timbers, and I've been pleasantly surprised many times because I've gotten separate timbers and lining up the grain on pieces, and it just slides right in, and like it just looks really cool. So the thing that I was looking at is that if I swap this, where dark is now towards the light on this, the grain actually kind of flows better. But because I've got that dark to light going across the lid, I want to do the same thing with this cabochon. And we'll set it right in there. All right, so a little bit of the glue, Mom. And this is slightly, ever so slightly concave. I want to fill that in too. Make sure I'm on the line I want to be on. Looks really close. Press that into place. It's a very tight fit, but it was meant to be. Okay, that glue's gone. And then I just need to insert this feller. And it's a dovetail fit. Before I do that though, let's get that. I don't know what that was, it was stuck to it. A little bit of glue in there. So if you've been watching, and in fact you can go to my YouTube channel and catch up on things, parts of the process that you haven't seen yet. The reason, that was not what I wanted to do, this is what I want to do, that I made this piece so small in the first place is because that's all the space that I had to work with when I was going to be putting all this together. I knew that was going to be what I had. I need more glue. Come on. There we go. So I need to get the glue. I want the glue into the dovetail there. This is, I'm never intending to take this apart ever. Ever, ever. There we go. And with any luck, this should slide right into place. I better grab another glue spreader. Some people put these in their ears. It's really weird. They're clearly glue spreaders. And cleaners. You know what now would be a really good time for toothbrush teeth. There we go. Or bristles rather, not teeth. There we go. Okay, so I see it didn't quite slide all the way in, so at least I can see that now. There we go. All right. So that's all seated. It doesn't have the groove I really wanted to have in there, but being able to turning that small little piece was really tough trying to get it in here. I learned a few things. So now this nail is covered, and let's hold it closer. How about that? So the nail that's right under here is covered by this cap, and the nail that's right underneath here is covered by the cabochon. So this will not be able to slide in and out this way or that way. And once all this is dry, it'll be plenty strong enough to lift that. It's already strong enough to lift that lid. And my grain looks pretty good. I'm going to nice. I have done that myself on occasion. It is nice to have resources like that in the community, especially when you may find yourself a bit short on what drives the economy, which is those green, although not in your country, they're MAV. I think yours are more red, and maybe they're multicolored. I haven't actually seen your foldable currency in quite a while. Last time I saw foldable Canadian currency would have been 1991 to 92 was when I was up in your neck of the woods. Actually, fairly close, in fact. I was on up in Vancouver, BC, so right on at least your side of the country. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. In this day and age, stuff like that, well, any day and age, really, I mean, there's always going to be, in this country, this political system, whatever, however we have this economy, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for, there's always going to be some people who struggle more than others, because it's remove the space, goddamned condensation D. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it for the chat. Appreciate that. Thanks. Welcome to the channel. I won't be going to a stream booth, but thank you. But anyway, to continue on, the fact that that there are programs like that in the communities is, well, I think essential, but really, really great. I I mean, I have found myself in the position of needing some supplementation, I guess. I don't want to call it assistance because that's not that kind of demeans people. I think when you say assistance for needy families, it's like, the only reason they're needy families or that you have that label for them is because of the economy and the way things are done. I'm not saying we need to have socialism or whatever. It's the democracy is not. There's going to be wealth disparities. That's just the way it goes in a democracy. In most. Man, that shined up really nice, man. I like this paste I came up with. So, the fact that those are available, though, I mean, just really helpful. I don't know yeah. So I don't know what it's like in Canada, what it's called, food stamps, or at least I don't know if they call them food stamps here now, or if it's all like a SNAP thing. I just don't know because I haven't applied or needed to. But there were times in the past, being a single parent, that food stamps bailed out me and the kids, man. Still working a 40-hour job, but being a single parent, paying for daycare and all that other stuff. Well, I mean, I got lucky, I guess. I can't say that I had to pay for daycare necessarily. At the time, my mother and her husband owned a daycare center. And they did over the years after, they got married when I was growing up. They had, how many daycare centers did they run? Let's see, one, two, I think three? Might have been four. But anyway, that was one of the things that they did. So, I don't want to disparage. There's a lot of strings attached, but I didn't actually have to pay dollars for daycare. So that helped out quite a bit, and I really appreciate it because it was the kids that, needed the food and the clothing and the medical care and all that. I mean, I got that from my job, but paying for all the extras with kids and all that, being a single parent, one income. And this was back in, let's see, 90, when that's 95, 96, 97. Right in that time frame. And so I can't imagine trying to do it now. Clearly the things have gone up in price, and then with all the tariff wars and whatever else, that hopefully it seems like our Supreme Court has come to what I think is a correct decision in stating that the tariffs were illegal. The problem is now is that all that stuff has to be paid back. And that's going to be a mess. And the way I'm looking at it, though, is that the people who were affected the most by tariffs were not corporations. They were not shippers and suppliers. It was the end users, the people who bought. All those costs were passed on to the end user. Were not borne, or very little of it was borne by the companies themselves. They just passed it on. So that, of course, affects the buying power of people in this country and every other country that is a thing for. But they're so out of touch. I think they're just completely out of touch, or they don't care, which, that's a possibility. It's human beings we're talking about. Yes, I am a member of that group, but, it takes all kinds, and there are all kinds. Okay, that's nicely polished and ready to go. I want to see this now. Let's get this set together. This will eventually be... I think I'm going to use epoxy for this because the epoxy will be more flexible. I don't want to use CA glue, and wood glue won't really hold on to this very much. I don't know that epoxy would really necessarily either, but at least it'll be a better choice then. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes me happy. And then one-handed operation. Yes, sir. That's nice. I'm liking that. That nice. So I can set this now. The lid is done. That's, yeah, yes. Love it when a plan comes together. Very, very cool. Nice. Okay, so I can remove this and set this aside so the glue can cure, set, dry, whatever it is for wood glue. Just want to make sure everything's seated approximately the same. There's one way to find out. Oh, I could do it this way. I think I will. Maybe. Yes, I can get that right up in there. Okay, I don't want to starve it of glue, but just want to make sure it was all seated, and it is all seated. Sweet, man. That went together well. It took a lot to get there, as I've never done this before, but yeah, cool. Very cool. Okay. So we see that part's done. The rest of that is drying. The wood will need to dry on the veneer before I can do any other kind of shaping or decision making, really, what I want to do with that. I'm not going out into the shop to turn this guy today. That's out. Because now, I just looked at it, now we're sitting at, feels like 4 degrees. No, thank you. Do I really? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I am still going to steam this guy in my steam box. Let's get this set right. Or maybe I'm not. No, yeah, I'm going to steam this in the steam box. And take that little, or at least do my best to take that little bit of a bend out. Because if I can get it, come on, I'm trying to set this clamp evenly. There we go. Just even pulling it a little bit allows the lid to be free. It's just slightly out of shape because of how it dried. I had a branch coming out here. You see that line? Or maybe you can. Let's see if we get closer. There's a line right here. And then there's a line right here. There is, well, where this hinges, there's a line there. And then there's a line right in there. And each one of those lines points to where a pith was, a branch or part of the tree growing out. And this one that is here was further away. The way that the crotch was cut was further away than these other three. So when I was talking about this in a previous broadcast, I was saying that I was expecting it to turn in more into a triangular shape, because I was not expecting this part where the pith and that compression wood was further away to move as much as it did. And once this turned into its triangular shape, it took about another week for this to start moving. And once that started moving, it took it around and started going almost square. Although where these two piths are and where these two piths are, or the direction those piths were coming into or coming from, are at different angles. It's not like they're kind of diametrically opposed to each other. Like these are even closer together on this side than they are on this side. So I really didn't take that into account. Next time I will. I've learned something. Next time I will still take that wood into account. I did not think that that would happen. So I'm going to steam this, bend it back into shape. But I think what I want to do first is I want to turn it to shape first, because I'm leaving a bit of a rim here so that I can inset a little bit that veneer handle that I'm making. So I want to leave that thickness there a little bit. I don't want to do it right behind the hinge, because I'm gluing that in place with epoxy, and I want that wall thickness there right behind the hinge to support it from the back. So I'm going to have to put the handle off to one side or the other, which is fine. I have that thickness of wood because of the way that this was turned, and then it eventually dried into shape, is that it turned into a triangular, more of an egg shape, triangular shape, and I got thicker walls on some of it than once I set hollowed out the bowl and the hole for the lid. Yeah, see, it's right in the right spot right now. The lid sits the way it should. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a shelf there, but then I'm going to turn the rest of it to shape. The inside bottom is right here. Sorry, it's right here. Not quite the same. That's the inside bottom. So I can take the bottom of this, turn it away to that far away, and leave that shelf up here, and be able to fit the veneer into place and all, carve it all out and everything, and still make a foot for this to sit on the counter with. But I don't want to bend it now and then turn it, and then that wood releasing that pressure, causing the wood to shift. So I'm going to turn it first and then steam it and bring it into place. I think that would be a better way to go about it, because where I really need it to bend back into shape is going to be really just where the rim is. So I don't know. I got to think about that. I really got to think about that. I don't know how I want to do that. If I want to do it before or after. I'm worried about it moving after if I release any pressure, any compression in the wood, turning that away. But it's this part that I don't want to change. This can change shape later, do whatever it wants. I may wind up actually having to turn a base or some kind of something for this to sit on. So I may have to turn a separate foot eventually. It's possible. So we'll go with that. Right now, though, it's in the shape it needs to be. And that's lovely. So I'm going to leave it in the clamp, and maybe just naturally it'll with the changes in the humidity throughout the day, that it'll just do its thing naturally. That's my hope. Whoops, too tight. Too tight. And I need to line up on that line. Didn't quite get that, did I? There we go. There we go. Alright, take the thing out of the ear so I can walk about the cabin, smoke my cigarettes, unfasten my seatbelt, all of that good stuff. Where am I going to set you? I need to set you over here. Set you right over there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Careful though, killer. You're going to hurt yourself. Okay. Alright, so we're done with that piece. How are we doing on time? I know it's not that late. 9 o'clock, so that was about an hour's worth of work. Okay. Well, the only other things that I have to work on while I'm inside is polishing up some of this plastic. Now normally, oh, I gotta sand that. Oh no, I don't. Normally, I do have to sand that though. I will do this on the lathe just because it's under power. But I've also done this by hand. The plastic polish that I have, I think, works really, really nicely. Yeah, I thought it was pretty rough. Okay, let's not use that. Let's use this. Ah, of course, I had to drop it. Way over there. Come here, you. All right. It's all right that I put scratches in the resin because I'm going to polish the thing anyway. And I've also used my cordless drills. I've done all that stuff. But doing it by hand is not that big a deal. This plastic polish is really, I really like using it. It's very nice. Like everything else, I think, if you can apply some power and save yourself some elbow grease, that's not a bad gig. I may even do that myself. I do use my drill with a kind of medium compression foam pads. I'm not trying to really force it in there. I just want to keep the pad in contact. And the reason I'm using like a medium density is because a softer foam, which would maybe possibly be a better choice, will disintegrate sooner. And this medium density foam tends to last quite a bit longer, in fact. And I don't have to put a lot of pressure on it anyway. So this is what I go to when I'm using my drill or this kind of thing. So I may use the drill, who knows? Okay, I don't need to polish this. I will need to polish that plastic. We'll do that later. And I don't need to polish any of this, but I do need to polish all of that. So I'm going to do this one later in the game. Let's see. This will be second. We'll do this one first. So let's get rid of those graphite marks. So on this, I've already sanded everything to 220. It is quite possible that I took this to 320, but I don't know. I don't know know if that is what I did. Normally I do a 220, and then the rest of the polishing I'll do with successive grits. What did I do with the handle? Oh, it's right behind me. The handle. So having this shelf liner is kind of fortuitous. Okay, so actually I think that I did sand it to 320. Fortunately, I have some right here. I wanted to clean this up, but the tooth there, yeah, sure did. The 220 was leaving me very visible scratches, and the 320 is not. Oh, that's another reason why I brought this, isn't it? Yes, it is. Alright, so I need to set this down. Where did I put you guys? You're around here somewhere. I was going to use you. There you are. Yeah, I want to try that too. So I have some sandpaper sheets, because I do want to sand that surface a little bit. I have some ceramic similar to Abranet. I'm going to try that out. And then some regular fantastical 220 sandpaper. So this shelf liner. Should be a nice help to keep things from scooting around too much. So I'm going to try this without water first. It's working pretty good. I bought this stuff for an entirely different purpose, but I needed to straighten this surface up, and I was like, this Abranet ought to work really, really nice. I don't use Abranet a lot. I don't see that it has, in my opinion, any more lasting power than less expensive. I mean, for what you pay for the Abranet, you can buy like an entire 25 sheets box or 50 sheet box, depending on where you go, of regular sandpaper, and the regular sandpaper will be, good quality. Okay, let's get this guy. But this Abernet's it's woven, right? So I'm hoping that the dust will just drop right down in. But man, this ceramic stuff is working nice. It's really cleaning that up quick. Yeah, I should do that. And it doesn't seem to care if it's wood or resin. Which, that's what I look for in a abrasive. I wanted to be able to use it on what I need to use it on. It shouldn't care if it's wood or resin. Okay, so that's actually done as far as cleaning up. So I didn't even need to use this. But that was my next go-to if this didn't work out well. So move these off to the side. Okay. Where is that stuff? So bring the plastic polish over into this neighborhood. And let's see, that's closed. 320 grits. So I want to wet sand. Here's my 400. You know what? I will wet sand 220. Well, no, I took that down. That'll just add. No, we'll start at 320 since I'm at 320. And some 400. I don't think they teach this in schools anymore. You know, growing up, I had to take a shop class called Introduction to Thermoplastics. And a lot of it was dealing with the plastic bending and resin, working with resins and creating things, you know, making projects. And my first project, which involved bending and then the resin and forming and all that, was a skateboard deck, and it was smoked plexiglass. Oh, no, it wasn't plexi. What was it? It wasn't Lexan either. It was, I can't remember the thermoplastic it was. But it was a smoked gray. You could still see through it, and I had designs. We used the resin to create designs where I had sandwiched the pieces together to glue them together before I actually cut and shaped the whole deck, and then bent the kicktails up. It was kind of cool. But they don't teach this anymore. Not in. I mean, I don't know. What do you have to go to? I haven't even seen it in the tech centers. Okay, we can't let this get. You know what would really be helpful? I bet you. Where did I put that? Where are you? You're around here somewhere. I could use you right now. I think you're right. Yes. Yes. This will be helpful. So now, I'm going to set that in the water. But the abrasive can sit in the water. And then I have access to water immediately. That works. So wet sanding, I think, works really, really super well when you're working when you're working resin and you're working scratches and stuff out. Wet sanding, you build up a nice slurry, and you can really clean up the surface of your resin. And I can thank what passed for the school systems then for my knowledge of that. Oh, I can't use that. That's not even abrasive anymore. Why the heck? Okay. Neither is that. So the 220 is behind me. There we go. So I will need some 220 to do a little bit of wet sanding with that. And what I learned as a kid, when you're doing this stuff, you want to build up a slurry, but you don't want it to get dry. And the same thing applies with the plastic polish. You want to work with the slurry, but you don't want it to get dry. And the reason for that is that with the water as a lubricant, I'm not dragging these particles that I'm sanding along for the ride, making big scratches. Everything is wet and lubricated, so I don't mess up the surface that I'm working on. Okay, do I need to do that? No. But I will need to do the inside. Or will I? Yes, I will. Even though it's going to be... Well, actually, no, I don't. You know what? I don't, because I'm going to be using epoxy to join these together, and the epoxy will, or should, fill in any of those. I just got to make sure that it is clean before I pour, and it won't trap any weird dust particulates in there, and it will fill any of those cracks in this surface and not show through. Okay, that is that one. So that was 320. Let's see, I need to go to 420 now, or 400. That was 320. 400. And we'll take a little bit more of the cloudiness out. Want most of it to be very clear, look like glass. Nice. All right, let's take a look here. I don't want to get the wood too wet. The resin should keep. Again, the resin is more flexible than CA glue, but it should keep everything generally in shape. But I'm not like drowning the wood either. Okay. Cool. Now that one can be polished. So we'll set that aside. Go for the second guy. And that was 320, so we'll start with 320. Let's see, there's my surface right there. Yeah. So you can see I got a slurry going. But I don't want that slurry to dry out, because then it'll just be granulates dragging across the surface and creating scratches. This one might be a little harder to do on the lathe because it's oval, but I'm sure I could find a way. Alright, let's take a look at that. Already it's starting to be more clear. to catch the surface and the light the right way so I can see if I got any tool marks, i.e. scratches from the abrasive process here. Oops, starting to lose my water. Okay. And now on the 420. No, wait, let's do this side. Oh, nice. Okay. And then that side. Feel it starting to drag, so as opposed to gliding when it's, you know, got water as a lubrication, if it starts to drag, you can see this slurry here is starting to dry up. So gotta be careful with that. Okay, I think that's good for that one. Now we'll hit it with 400. And this guy's pretty much done. Yeah, it's looking nice. Now, parts of the wood, of course, will be sanded to 400, but they are wet, so they won't stay as smooth as they would be with the 400 if it was dry. But what that means is, because it's been sanded, even though fibers will come up, they won't be really coarse, so it won't be much of an issue to actually put finish on this, because it's still what is going to come up on this is still going to be better than the 220 that I sanded it to. So, and in any case, I can make any adjustments I need to when I need to. Yeah, this is, oops, starting to get dry. Good. Oh, can I use this anymore? Oh yeah, okay. This has mica in it as a colorant, and sometimes the mica bunches up in spots just a little bit, and so it can make it look like there's a tool mark. Okay, that one's ready to polish. So we can go with this guy. So set him over there to dry a little bit, just like the other ones. And that is toast. So I do need to wet sand this surface a little bit with 220. So I'll do that. Don't let it get dry. Ah, there we go. Yes. Okay. Need a little bit more work here. Okay. So that looks good. We will go with the 320 next. Let's see, I'm doing all just these three, right? Yes. Okay, so this is done. 320. Brand spanking new piece. So the slurry does have particulates in it, right? But those particulates also do help polish the resin when you're wet sanding. But again, you don't want to let that dry out because that slurry becomes grit. Then you're creating more problems for yourself. Resin is cool to work with, but you can make all kinds of mistakes, and I mean there is a learning curve, I guess is what I'm saying. So this is going to be hidden. I don't have to do anything with that. And it's not even going to show on the top, so I'm not going to do anything about that. In fact, epoxy is going to sit in there anyway to hold this top to the main body of the box. I thought about just friction fitting everything together, but actually, I'm kind of still on the fence about that. I think because of the way that I've got everything designed, I can actually friction fit everything together, and it'll work fine. The issue is bouncing around on the counter or whatever. I don't know if I should make it super easy to take apart, because eventually it's going to have to be cleaned. Another brand spanker, yeah. That looks I want to get like the gross scratches out of here. This plastic polish does really, really well. I've used it even just going to 220 grit. And it takes out the scratches even off of 220, which I think is awesome. I don't always do that, but I have done that. And to have that option, it takes some of the production time away if you don't have to, if you can skip a couple of grits because the polish does whatever it is you're working does the job. You don't have to, overkill. But having said that, I mean, of course, the finer I sand this, the better the surface will be. I have actually many times, depending on the project, and not on this one, but many times I will have wet sanded to 2000 grit before I use the plastic polish. Plastic polish is just that last little coup de grace, I guess, for the whole process. It just adds that extra. Because you could wet sand this stuff all the way up to as high a grit as 8,000 grit, whatever. It may need it'll look like glass that way. But personally, I don't know that I want to spend all of that time sanding. Okay, this guy should be ready to go now. So I need to move. I need water. How much though? Thinkity think. Do I need? Yeah, I need a little bit of water, but I really don't need this. But I'll rinse this out. All right, I'll be right back. So these are still usable in the future, but I'm just going to trash them and get some fresh water. Okay, oops, and paper towels. Although, I don't know, man, you know what, let's play with the drill. I need to get it now. And a battery. Just like that. I really only need the water for a little bit of cleanup. I don't need it for the actual thing. So, this is stuff I've been using since I bought it, but a little bit of this goes a long way and it works really well. They are not sponsors of this channel, although if Novus would like to sponsor this channel, let's talk. That would be great. But this is the plastic polish that I use. It's a 3-part system. I bought it on Amazon. So this is a heavy scratch remover, fine scratch remover, and then there's a cleaner. And apparently it also adds a little bit of extra, I don't know, surface to it. But I've also used water and come up with a very, very, or at least to me, the same results. Okay. No, I don't put it on slow speed in case this thing wants to skip around on me. But I could do this by hand or with this. Either way, I think I actually might do it by hand because of the setup that I've got going here. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'm doing all right. Maybe I will do myself a favor and move this. And that might, see, I'm getting some water down here. There we go. So I don't want this slurry to dry out either. And the reason that I'm using the drill on the hammer drill speed, the slow speed, is because I don't want to, well, for one, I want to be able to have a little bit of control on where it travels because it's going to skip around if I go too fast. For two, I don't want to be running this abrasive really fast across the plastic and deform it, heat it up, or anything like that. Heat, I think, will be not friendly. Got a little plug out of there. You see, I'm speeding up too much, and I gotta keep it slow. I can't keep it on point when I'm going too fast. So here you can see now, I'm pretty much done with that surface. Let's get that stuff cleaned off. And you see that you can really start seeing through it even better. This is really polishing up this plastic very well. I think I probably need to do this by hand because it's an edge. And I really don't think I'll keep a rotating sponge in contact with this just with one hand. If I had some kind of holdback, a vise or whatever, then that would be a different story. So you can see it really cleaned that up already. You can see the difference between here and there, and that's just by hand. And I'm not quite finished. With this surface anyway, I got one more surface here on the side to do for this guy. This is really good plastic polish. I'm impressed, and that's why I keep using it, because it works so doggone well. You know, doing the research, and people say, will it polish a CD? And you know, that actually is a really good question. If it'll polish up the plastic on a CD enough to allow the laser light through to bounce off, you know, the burned in data and the film underneath it, Well, then that'll be clear enough for most of the uses I want to use this stuff for. Yeah, you see right through it. So just got that surface to do now. And that's just the first, there's one more polish after this, and it's the fine scratches. Like I say, a little bit of this goes a long way. Let's see, I want to have a cushion here. Oh, duh. This would make a good cushion now. And I do want to mention, if I had taken this to 2000 grit, this would go even faster and would look even better. But this still looks good at 400 grit. It ain't bad. So there we are. So that's just the heavy scratches. Let's get all the heavy scratches on everything. Alright, so this guy, I think I will use this. As long as I don't let that slurry dry out, it'll do the job I want. Oops, add a little bit of water here. So whatever Novus has got going on, I'm impressed. This is good stuff. I haven't used other plastic polishes. I'm not saying they're all bad or whatever. I'm just impressed with this one. And because a little bit goes a long way, I haven't had to purchase any since, I don't know, when was the first time I did resin? 2016, 2017? That's when I bought this. And since I don't have to use a metric ton of it, that should last me another 10 years, I would think. Okay, let's see. It's not bad. I'm going to hit it again. And I could do this by hand, like I said, and wouldn't take any appreciably more time. It's just more muscle. But hey, man, if I can do it powered, I'll do it powered. That's why I do a lot of this on the lathe. I can do it all powered. you see through that pretty well already. This is great. All right. And that surface right there, that one there. I will advise against using this stuff on punky wood because this paste will get into every little nook and cranny on punky wood and be really hard to clean out. What I'm going to just bring the whole roll of paper towels over here because apparently I need to. Okay. Paste off of there. Okay. And then this guy, right? Did I do this one? I did do this one. Oh, nice. Okay, so I'm on to the second stage. Okay, cool. I'm going to rinse this out a little bit. Okay, so I'm not starting with that guy. He still needs to dry. Let's go back to the first one. Oh yes, let's do this. And number two. Okay, so the difference between that and that. Nice. All right, let's do these edges here. That polish. That's nice. Okay. That guy. You are plugged it up. I need to clean you. Okay. I do that in a minute. Give me that. It just works so well. Just really, really groovy. Okay, so that one's done. Paper clip. I need a paper clip. And those live over here. In that box, in fact. Okay. Oh, you know what? I haven't had this in, but there's been nothing new on chat, so I have not missed anything in chat. Be nice next week. The temperatures will be up, and I can be out turning. But I think being able to do this is nice too, because this is the bit that most people don't see. They just see the turning part, and they don't see all everything else that goes into making a piece. I think it's this guy next. You know what? It might be smarter for me to put the other dude in my ear too, so at least it's not hanging down, possibly to be caught up in the rotation of the gear. The paper towels are almost too far away. Yeah, that's polished really, really nicely. Gonna finish the whole thing with lacquer, shellac. Not lacquer, shellac. I need to get right in there again. There we go. Now the back side. You know, I'm thinking that I believe I want to do this by hand because my foam pad, even though I squeezed it out, is still a little wetter than I'd like. And so I'm thinking that it's pushing away a little bit, pushing away the abrasive because of the water content, and I think I just proved that theory right. So let's do this side also. Oh yeah, that definitely made a difference. So next time I will use a different foam head for each of these. I thought I would be able to squeeze out the water enough, but that obviously is not the case. And hey, I learned yet something else. Okay, let's get all of that cleaned off. And then I'm planning on doing the outside, even though I don't have to do a whole lot of polishing there, because that's the mold wall left a really, really nice surface. But I think that I will probably just hit it a little bit anyway on the lathe. It'll be easier to do that way. A lot of surface here. So just that difference between that and that. Oh, I put too much on here. Anyway, if you are looking for a plastic polish, this one sure seems to work well, I think. So this one I could recommend to people. I haven't tried really other ones. I mean, I've done like headlight repairs, right? And that's a different polish altogether. Same idea, process, probably similar chemicals, but I haven't used it on resin like I am now. This stuff works just really, really well. I like it. And you might be noticing in the camera, in the view that you've got, that there is some kind of wave or undulation inside the resin, or maybe you think it's on the surface. And there is actually in the resin, and it is the mica colorant. It doesn't, for one, I like subtle colors, so I go for less is more. But the mica is a solid, it doesn't dissolve, right? So it holds up suspended in the resin most of the time, but sometimes, especially like if you stir it afterwards, it can, well, actually it does. If you look at solidly colored turned pieces, turned objects, you see all those waves and undulations in the resin, and that's exactly what happens with the mica. You're seeing the mica pattern that it created during the stirring process. And that's the same thing in here. It was just a subtle use of the mica, but you can still see some of the waves, and so it looks like, or it has the appearance that maybe it's not as clear as it could be, and it's very well polished. It is the mica in some spots. It doesn't look cloudy per se. It looks like there is a wave of material. A different layer? Yeah, there you go. A little bit different than liquid colorants, obviously. But, I mean, it does a stellar job. Just stellar. In my opinion. Okay. So that appears to be fairly well cleaned off. I'll have to let it dry to be sure. I might find some streaks of that in, because that right there is a little bit punky. I can see a little bit of white in that area, which maybe this will take care of like right away. A little bit of water maybe in there. Yeah, there we go. Get that out of there. Because, get that out of there too. When this dries brown. The other one dries white. And it'll definitely show up in your cracks and crevices and punky wood and stuff like that. clean it out before it dries. Okay. So I got a little bit of white residue there, and I'll clean off later. All right, that one's done. That one's done. And oh, they're all done. Oh, hey, nice. Okay. Very nice. Yeah, you can see that white residue there. I'm definitely gotta clean that out. And I'll just keep doing that as I go. I'll let it dry, look for where I have residue, clean that off. But I'm at the point where I can put things together. Well, okay, if I was at that point, I could put things together, like they're ready to go. I'm not quite there. Still got a few more things to do for the grinder. And I'll have to polish this guy too. But I got a little work to do on the opening. But these other three pieces are essentially finished. Other than drilling 4 feet, which I have marked. There, and there. And those marks actually did collect this polish, but that actually is okay. Since I needed to locate them to drill those spots. So there's one there, one right there, there, and there. So that actually highlights those spots that I need to drill to put tenons in for my feet for this guy. So you can see that little white dot. I'll leave that polish in that little indentation. I hit that with what do they call those little set tools? Marks. I don't know why my brain isn't working, but it's not working. And I can't bring up the name of that tool that punches. It's a punch. Hey, there we go. Center punch. There we go. I knew I would get it eventually. Okay. I think that now puts me at a spot where I've gotten as far as I can. So that means that I'm at a point to wrap up the broadcast. How are we doing at time here? I think we're doing all right, right? 10:30, something like that? Oh, 10:20. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, I need to remove the earpiece, and I will be back. You guys gotta go down in your little case. Cool, man. That worked out well. Now I just need to wash myself up, but that's all groovy and copacetic. So there we are. We've got see the residue in there. Anyway, we got that lovely dude. That lovely dude. Love the way the light plays through that resin. You can see the wood all the way through that. And then, well, you're not going to see a whole lot here. But a little bit on the oval edges. This bit right here will actually show this surface once it's all mated together. We'll be able to see that through here. So that'll be cool. All right, so those are all set. Let's move to this side. There we go. Okay, so I guess that means I'm going to wrap this up this evening. Cut off a little early since I'm at a good stopping point. So let's kill this light. And yeah. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Looks like we're down to one viewer. Thanks for hanging in there. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your support. Signing into this channel or watching this channel, even if you're lurking, is still supporting the channel. And I appreciate that. Thank you, all the folks who subscribe. I'm glad that you find value in this channel. And I appreciate you all coming back as we carry on through all the projects, right? Thank you very much. I hope you all stay friendly. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope to see you next week. I'll be back Tuesday and Wednesday, 8 to 11 Eastern Standard Time. The weather will be warmer. At least I hope so anyway. It looks like it will, according to the weather prognosticators. We will see. And we might be out in the shop. Now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to set up, because I was willing to set up, even though it's colder today, I thought, how cool would it be if I could turn the lid out there in the shop and stream that and then come back in and put all the stuff together. But I don't have any way to transfer between the computers. I think I'd have to get I don't know if I need to get I think a switch might help, like an AV switch where I wouldn't have to have a computer out there. The only issue with that is that I wouldn't have any kind of visual interface to see what was going on. I'd have to rely completely. Actually, I wouldn't be able to hear anything either. I'd have to have some way to get a sound out there, which I guess could be a speaker. But anyway, if I get an AV switch, some way to switch things around, I might be able to get both of these going and be able to switch between the two, which is my next goal. I think I'd like to be able to do that. So I'm going to be working on figure that one out. So stay tuned for that at some point in the future. I can't say when. I'll just keep working at it until I get it. All right, folks. So I'm going to wrap it up this evening. I'll be back in next week. Thanks again. Hope to see you then. And take care. I'll see you next time.